What's up, guys? I have an awesome video for you tonight where we cover some stuff on TikTok that nobody else is talking about. Guarantee it, first time on YouTube. It is going to be here where we talk about Twitter versus Instagram versus Facebook with the data, right? We're not going to be subjective. We're just going to look at the data to understand what is happening, similarly how we do it with the presidential candidates that are trying to get nominated. And if you want to see that, then stay tuned. If this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you that are returning, it's good to freaking see you. You had better be pressing that thumbs up button. All right, let's get into it. So TikTok, what is TikTok? Well, if you don't know what TikTok is, you can Google that shit, because I'm not going to talk about that. But one of the things that I started doing about a month ago, and I have my account up here because wasn't able to pull it up in here, or actually didn't even fucking try. But they don't have, it doesn't seem like I can log in when I get to the website. So this shows you like how simplistic this company is at this point. Like they don't have some basic things like a web version of this for people to fucking use yet, right? But this, right? So I've been using TikTok. I've had two accounts and I've had them both for, I don't know, a year, maybe or so longer, but I didn't really post too much to it. However, I decided to commit to putting out content on TikTok and figuring it out about a month ago when I was on vacation with my girlfriend. And that's when I decided. So the data on here over the last, basically it's all video on TikTok, generally about 15 seconds. And I've had 26,000 plus views over the last 28 days. And the hasn't even been a month yet. So this isn't actually 28 days. This is more like probably 23 days because there's still not even 28 days worth of data on here because I just learned out how to track my shit and turn it into a pro so that I could see my data. But on YouTube, the platform that I've been putting out content on for a year straight at like 2 videos per day, like 800 to 900 videos, I should get probably around 75,000 views in the month of November, maybe 85,000 views. This, in 1 month, I'm getting like 30% of all of what I'm doing on YouTube, which I've been putting out content on every day for a fucking year. Yes, this may only be on average around 15 seconds or a little over 15 seconds worth of content per clip, but that's retarded. It's 1 month. Like in probably another 90 days, this number will probably easily eclipse the number from YouTube. And even if it is at 15 seconds, at that growth rate, it's just going to be astronomical to see where this could go in relative terms to YouTube. And more than likely, this is going to show up in the YouTube analytics as more people come from finding out here to look on YouTube for additional information, which does happen. My follower count has gone from 302 followers to just under 900. Let me see here. Right up there, 998 followers. There was one day where I gained 198 followers in one day. That's crazy for me, right? Like I had 900 followers or about 1,000 followers to get 220% of them almost in one freaking day. It's crazy. There has been probably like at least a handful of like 5 or 6 days where I gained more than 40 followers in a day. That's amazing. And that period over the last 28 days also includes 5 days where I was locked out because I posted something and I said something about drugs and they blocked my account for 5 days where I couldn't post. So it would have been even higher. I just got it back like 4 or 5 days ago. And the total number of profile views is 811. So I want to show you something. I'm just literally going to go over to my Instagram and go to my profile. And on my Instagram, I've had, right here at the top, 295 profile views. So I'm getting a lot more traction over there. But think about this, right? On Instagram, I've got 4,300 followers. So I've got 4 times as many people following my shit on Instagram. And yet I have 300 people roughly visiting my profile in the last 7 days. Where on TikTok, I've got 811. So over the last 7 days. That's pretty astonishing, you know? Let me just make sure that that's Okay, I apologize. That was over 28 days. Okay, so the date in the last video, I quoted that wrong. But over the last 7 days, still crazy. 196. So I've had 196 profile views, right? 100 less than Instagram, and Instagram has 4 times as many people following, right? I've got 4,300 on Instagram and 1,000 on here. So they've got 4 times as many, but only 100 more in terms of the profile visits. So any way you look at it, it's still crazy. Like, and if you look at this just over the last 7 days, you can see that it's trending up and to the right. So I would expect this to continue. And basically what I'm just doing is posting a shitload on here. So anyways, now you want to get into the meat of this, which I apologize for dragging this out for so long. But what we're going to do is take a look at Google Trends, and we're going to take a look at Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Now, what is Google Trends, and how are we going to use it? Well, Google Trends is Google, clearly, but they also own YouTube. And what they do is track all of the searches on YouTube. So anytime somebody searches for anything on YouTube, it's tracked, right? So what we did here is I put in the 3 search terms that we want to compare: Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then we are taking a look over the past 7 days, and we see that number 1 by like a large margin, like more than 2 to 1, is TikTok over Instagram, and then Instagram's almost twice as big in terms of search volume on average than Facebook. So this is kind of interesting, right? Because my data is showing me this, but I wanted to try to actually understand what is happening. And wait till you see this. Okay, so now there's not a clear directional trend for anything except for potentially just a little bit. It looks like Facebook and Instagram, if you see right over here, it looks like they might be dropping off. Just like the peaks look like they're coming down slightly for those over the past 7 days. But let's zoom out to 30 days and take a look at what we have. And we're going to go all the way out to 12 months where the numbers get really retarded interesting. So now it's a little bit more smoothed out because we're looking at a longer time frame. And here we can see that clearly up and to the right from TikTok, there's more and more interest on TikTok. Which is kind of interesting. And it does look like red here, which is Instagram, is kind of trending down, or just, actually it's pretty flat. It looks pretty flat, yeah. And red, or yellow, which is Facebook, looks like it's actually maybe gained a teeny bit of ground. Because like if you look at the gap between 25 and it right here, like the flat line here versus like the flat line here, it looks like it's gained a little bit over that time period. But let's go out to 90 days before we go to the 12-month and see what it looks like here. So this is where it starts to get super interesting, and nobody else on YouTube is talking about this or on the internet that I could find. So we see that TikTok is clearly dominating the fuck out of Instagram and Facebook when it comes to the search volume on YouTube. So that plays out in here because you can see my shit. I just showed you. I don't even know what I'm doing on there. I'm just posting a retarded number of things per day. I apologize for using the word retarded. I just mean a lot of content that I was posting. Like at some points I would be posting 10 times per day just to try to understand and learn faster. Now, what really was shocking was when I went to the 12-month view. And this is what I see. Just clearly up and to the right for search trends around TikTok. This is the most clear trend I've seen in almost anything of my time using Google Trends, and I do a lot of content around this. This is a pretty astonishing thing. So I'm curious to see if it levels out here as it did over these last 2 days, right? But it did it here where it leveled out and then it started taking off, and then it leveled out here and started taking off. So I don't know if it's going to have another pop or not, but the gap that's opening up just from the end of August, right? Just from the end of August has really started to go mainstream. Like really, you know what I mean? It's got a huge lead. Even though on the average, this is why it doesn't always tell, on average, Instagram has more search volume because look at all this data the first half of the year, but shit changes. So this is super, super interesting. And the data point I actually didn't look at was worldwide, but let's take a look at worldwide. Oh my goodness, this is astonishing as well. So this is even a larger data set here where we're looking at the same search terms, but now we're looking on a global basis over the last 12 months. And we see the exact same trend, but it's not as strong, but it did just cross over in terms of TikTok. It looks like on a global basis, it may be flattening out, but in the US, it looks like we're not sure. We'll just have to see from there. Anyways, if you guys leave me a comment what your thoughts are down below, I can actually get to it like I'm going to do right here with Jonas, where if you use hashtag Stolt, at the end of the videos, I talk about the comments that use the hashtag Stolt in there, and it's easier for me to find the comments when they use hashtag Stolt. When I'm getting a bunch of comments per day. So what we have here, thank you first of all for the comment. This is in reference to doing this type of analysis on a political video, and Stolt from Florida. That's awesome you're from Florida, or maybe you're saying that I am actually from Florida too. I just moved from there. What is fascinating how much the mainstream media, that's what SMS stands for, get your mind out of the gutter, drives traffic growth. Seeing how website goes up and down with mainstream coverage, good or bad. Tulsi and Pete's jumped lately. They may have been getting lots of coverage. It shows the Yang Gang strength, which has kept traffic. I apologize. This is a long fucking comment, but I think it's actually we're gonna read through it, and then I'm gonna draw some keen insights actually out of what he's saying to try to understand and provide value. Which has kept traffic to his website without the mainstream coverage. And what he's referencing right there is, when you look at the data, as I did in a different video where we looked at CNN and if CNN was being objective about the candidates or not, and we saw that they were clearly not being objective around the data, where they were putting out far less media around Andrew Yang than any other candidate, even if that candidate was polling worse than Andrew Yang. So there's a clear bias there, and this has been noticed with them, and I think multiple times on TV where he's just not included in the data, even though like maybe he's polling at 3%, but somebody else was polling at 1%, they would include the person that had 1% and not include Andrew Yang. And this happened like on multiple different networks and whatnot. So that's why he's talking about mainstream media coverage and how much that drives traffic, because we can see what's like how much it influences their website traffic. And in the past, imagine how influential that was. But today we've had that shift where the internet's way more powerful, and this is evident through what's happening with Andrew Yang and the momentum that he's built up, doing the same type of analysis that I do here, but we add in a bunch more factors, but we just look at the data. So that is super interesting there. The drop has been the Yang Gang's YouTube. So yeah, they look for people on YouTube and on Google. So that's why Andrew Yang has been winning. Like the crowds and stuff that just the attention has been very, very interesting to watch. Curious to see if his YouTube numbers went up. Hey, if anybody else wants to see if Andrew Yang's YouTube numbers went up, I've got that video coming up in a couple days, so press subscribe. So it also shows how much influence mainstream media still has over the nominee. So this is a very interesting question. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What impact does the mainstream media have on the nominee? I think what I want to draw here is a couple distinctions, like where we currently are, but what used to be a thing, and then kind of maybe where we're going in the future, is that I think the mainstream media in the past that was the only voice that was talking, right? Because the internet, YouTube, this platform was not here. There wasn't all this social media. So the influence that the media had in the past was gigantic. And as the internet has evolved and the information has started to disseminate across larger population sets, there's a better way to gather data, and more people every fucking second are realizing that, like, oh, There's a more intelligent way of finding the answer than listening to the fucking news or how they report on or what they report on, right? And as we've moved so that more of this voice and opinion is just diversified with having the internet, we've come to a tipping point, whether that happened at the last election, I don't think we were quite there yet, or if it's going to happen in 2020, and that leads us into the future where the internet is the thing. Like, it is the bigger influence. If you win the internet, you've won. It's not the other way around where you did it outside of the internet. Like, it was polling and you do all these, like, I don't know, barn city hall type fucking shits. Like, it's the internet. If you win the internet, you won, right? Every single piece of, like, campaigning that's done should be put on the internet for people to see. Because even if you're in front of 10,000 people, like doing a show, and most of these candidates are not nearly in front of 10,000 people, you put that fucking on the internet on YouTube and you break up to the parts where you said intelligent shit, and then you also put up the full video, and then you put that on those other platforms, guarantee you get more than 10,000 fucking impressions. And probably more than 10,000 views of that piece of content to get your message out, right? And some of these people are going to be fucking voters. Like, it's just an intelligent thing to do, and I don't think a lot of people realize that that shift has actually happened. Like, there's a crossover, just like the data we were happening, where the internet is more important now, way more important than physical. Like, way more important. And in my opinion, and this will play out, right? We'll see how accurate the power rankings are as we lead into the 2020 election and see if it's number one in predicting who's winning, if what I'm saying right now is accurate. Like, I'm putting it out there, and I'll be 100% honest if I'm completely wrong. I don't think that's the case at all. But time will tell, right? We'll know by the end of 2020. I would love to calculate views of candidates with YouTube interviews to see how many people are actually watching those interviews and likes and dislike ratio. So I actually did a couple of videos on that, so you might want to look back on the channel. So I did some interesting stuff on the views and dislikes. You would discount dedicated candidate channels because fans will watch them regularly. That would be a separate chart, but it would be interesting to see how many views or Q&A candidate view interviews we're getting. But unfortunately, you're like one person, full-time job. Yes, I think that this is an amazing idea, and I would like to actually start maybe a data analytics company or something. So if anybody's watching this is interested, hit me up on social somewhere, and maybe we can talk about putting together something where putting the people in place to gather this data and create the platform where we can actually understand. That can be the source of understanding for what's happening in politics, or take this methodology or framework of what I'm doing here and turn this into a business case use. So I've got a lot of different ideas around that that are gonna play out as I try to understand how to use what I'm doing here in the real world. But I will definitely keep you posted. I've got some interesting stuff coming out on Tesla coming up, which anybody who has watched the channel for a little while would know that I'm a big fan of Tesla. So I've got some interesting research coming out on Tesla related to what we are doing. I have to move on to another comment, but awesome comment. I appreciate that. Next, I wanted to jump down to, this will be the last comment, guys. I appreciate you. I really do. The Mobcast podcast. Amazing, bro. Definitely going to be tagging your work in a couple independent news channels. Oh, awesome. So this reminds me, if anybody knows somebody else who has a podcast or a YouTube channel or is in the legacy media world, like radio or television, and you agree with what I've been talking about in terms of trying to understand the trends, right? Like, we can see what people are searching for in terms of the political candidates on YouTube and on Google, and we get to rank their websites and we get to look at their social media growth and whatnot. We understand all this. So if you put me in front of or get me in contact with whoever is in the media, whatever it is, if it's a podcast or like the new digital stuff, or if it's something like in the legacy world, like, I want to talk to them because I want to get this message out there that we should have this conversation about reality and start changing shit. Because, like, there's so many opportunities to get a better understanding of, like, what's happening than how we used to do things. I think we're at that point in maturity where we kind of have to start asking the serious questions. Like, maybe there's a better fucking way of doing things, right? So that brings up the point, and I think that's actually a perfect time to end this video, guys. I really appreciate if you stayed this the whole entire time to the end of the video. Peace. Love you.